First contact in crisis. The quantum sensors aboard the Xerillian survey vessel Starweaver pulsed with an eerie violet glow as the ship drifted through the outer reaches of the Carina Nebula. Science Director Mira Vowell watched through her four compound eyes as streams of data flowed across the holographic displays, each measurement telling the story of another cosmic phenomenon previously unknown to her people. The Xerillians prided themselves on their careful, methodical approach to space exploration. Their crystalline bodies, evolved in the gentle gravity of their homeworld, were perfectly adapted for the delicate work of scientific observation. Every movement was precise, every decision calculated to minimize risk. Director, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from Sector 7, announced Navigator Kryn Sai, their translucent fingers dancing across the control interface. The readings don't match anything in our database. Miraval glided across the bridge, her crystalline form refracting the soft light from the nebula outside. Fascinating. The energy pattern appears to be artificially generated, but it predates any known civilization in this sector. The Starweaver's sister ships, the Lightseeker and the Dawnchaser, moved into formation around the anomaly. Together, the three vessels formed the most advanced survey fleet the Xerillian consensus had ever assembled. Their mission was to map the unknown regions of space, seeking out new phenomena and expanding the boundaries of scientific knowledge. Beginning detailed scan sequence, Kryn Sai announced. Energy levels are fluctuating, but remain within safe parameters for. The words died in their throat as a wave of crimson energy erupted from the anomaly. The Starweaver's shields flared brilliant purple as they struggled to absorb the impact. Warning signals blared across every console as systems began to fail. Multiple hull breaches detected. Chief Engineer Vextor's usually melodic voice cracked with alarm. The energy wave is somehow accelerating the crystalline decay of our structural components. At this rate, we have less than 30 minutes before complete hull failure. Miraval's mind raced. The Xerillian fleet was built for research, not combat or crisis situations. Their ships were technological marvels, but they were also fragile, like the beings who created them. The nearest Xerillian outpost was weeks away, and their long-range communications were already failing. The Lightseeker's primary systems are offline, reported communications officers RFN. The Dawnchaser is reporting similar damage. Director, we're trapped. With practiced calm that belied her growing fear, Miraval activated the emergency broadcast system. The signal would be picked up by any ships within range, regardless of their origin. It was a risk. This region of space was known to harbor pirates and other dangers. But they had no choice. This is Science Director Mira Vowell of the Xerillian Survey Fleet. We have encountered a hostile anomaly and are experiencing catastrophic system failures. Any vessels in range. We require immediate assistance. The message repeated, echoing into the void as the three crippled ships drifted helplessly. The crystalline crews worked frantically to stabilize their failing systems, but every passing minute brought them closer to disaster. The anomaly pulsed with malevolent energy, as if aware of their plight. 18 minutes into their crisis, when hope was beginning to fade, a new signal cut through their failing communication system. The voice that filled their bridge was unlike anything the Xerillians had heard before, deep, resonant, and filled with an almost predatory confidence. Xerillian Survey Fleet, this is Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth Emergency Response Ship Thunderhammer. We've detected your distress signal and are inbound with support vessels. Hold position and prepare for rescue operations. The bridge crew exchanged looks of surprise and uncertainty. Humans. They'd all heard stories about the Death World species that had recently emerged onto the galactic stage. Their home planet was a nightmare of high gravity, extreme temperatures, and aggressive biodiversity. They were supposedly built like living tanks, with redundant organs and bones dense enough to withstand impacts that would shatter a Xerillian into 1,000 pieces. The human ships are approaching at extremely high velocity, Kryn Sai reported, their voice a mixture of fear and awe. Their trajectory suggests they intend to. They're going to fly straight through the anomaly's outer field. Miraval watched in stunned silence as three massive vessels burst into view. Where Xyrillian ships were elegant and crystalline, these human vessels were brutally utilitarian. Multiple layers of armor plating covered their hulls, and their engines blazed with barely contained power. They looked less like ships and more like mobile fortresses. The Thunderhammer and its escort vessels plowed through the energy field that had crippled the Xyrillian fleet, their shields flaring but holding. As they approached, Miraval realized that what she had initially taken for design inefficiency was actually purposeful redundancy. These ships, like their creators, were built to survive anything the universe could throw at them. Xyrillian fleet, maintain your position. Captain Chen's voice came again. We're detecting severe structural damage to your vessels. We'll need to evacuate your crews before attempting any repairs. Don't worry. We've done this before. As the human ships moved into rescue position, Miraval felt a strange mix of emotions. Their carefully planned scientific mission had turned into a disaster, yet somehow she couldn't help but feel that they were about to learn something far more valuable than any sensor reading could provide. They were about to discover firsthand why humanity had survived and thrived on their death world, and why perhaps the galaxy needed these sturdy, resilient newcomers more than anyone had realized. The human solution. The Thunderhammer's rescue bay was a study in organized chaos as the Xyrillian crew was evacuated from their failing ships. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sarah Hassan moved with practiced efficiency among the crystalline aliens, her augmented strength allowing her to easily support their fragile forms in the ship's Earth standard gravity. Easy does it, she murmured, helping a Xyrillian engineer onto a specially configured anti-gravity bed. Your bodies aren't designed for our gravity. We've adjusted the medical bay's gravitational field, but the rest of the ship has to maintain Earth normal for our systems to function properly. Captain Marcus Chen stood at the bay's command center, his dark eyes scanning multiple holographic displays showing the status of both the rescue operation and the mysterious anomaly. 20 years of deep space rescue work had taught him to always expect the unexpected, but this situation was pushing even his considerable experience. Engineering team reports successful stabilization of the Starweaver's primary hull, his XO. Commander Yuki Tanaka reported. But there's something strange about the damage pattern. It's almost as if the energy field was designed to target their specific physiology. Chen finished, his expression grim. Look at how it's affecting their crystalline structure, but barely registering on our hull. Science Director Miraval, who had insisted on remaining mobile despite the crushing gravity, drifted closer to their conversation. Your ship's construction should have suffered similar degradation to ours. The principles of material science are universal. Chen let out a short laugh. Maybe where you come from, Director. But on Earth, we learned long ago that the universe doesn't play fair. Everything on our world evolved to survive constant destruction. Even our bacteria are aggressive. In the engineering bay, Chief Engineer Carmen Rodriguez was elbow-deep in the Starweaver's quantum drive, her enhanced muscles allowing her to easily manipulate equipment that the Xyrillians required mechanical assistance to handle. A small team of her engineers worked alongside her, their movements precise despite their bulky environmental suits. Your ships are beautiful, Rodriguez called out to Vextor, who was supervising from a safe distance. The quantum matrix configuration is pure genius. But, the Xyrillian engineer prompted, their crystalline form shimmering with curiosity. But you've optimized everything for perfect conditions. No redundancies, no backup systems, no fail-safes. On Earth, we learned to build everything with the assumption that it would try to break in the worst possible way at the worst possible time. As if to emphasize her point, a sudden surge from the anomaly rocked both ships. The humans barely noticed the gravitational shift. Their bodies naturally adapted to handle far worse, but the Xyrillians had to be quickly stabilized by medical teams. Status report. Chen's voice boomed through the comm system. The anomaly's energy output just doubled, Tanaka responded. It's affecting a wider radius now. Sir, the Xerillian ship's structural integrity is failing faster than we can repair them. Chen turned to Miraval, his expression serious. Director, we need to know everything you've learned about this thing. My gut says this isn't a natural phenomenon. And in my experience, artificial problems usually have artificial solutions. The science director's compound eyes flickered rapidly as they processed the information. The device appears to be powered by what we call a quantum singularity. It's using the energy to generate a field that resonates with crystalline structures at their fundamental level. But there's something else. They paused, their form dimming slightly. It's adaptive. It's learning from our interference pattern. As if to prove their point, a new wave of energy crashed against the fleet's shields. The human support vessels weathered the assault, their redundant systems compensating automatically, but the Xerillian ships groaned under the strain. Structural integrity failing on the Lightseeker, Tanaka announced. Their quantum matrix is going critical. Get those crews evacuated now, Chen ordered. He turned to Miraval. Director, we're running out of options. Is there any way to overload the device? The science director's response was cut off by a violent shudder that ran through the ship. In the medical bay, Dr. Hassan and her team worked frantically to stabilize their Xerillian patients as the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Captain, Hassan's voice came over the comm. The energy field is having an unexpected effect on human physiology. Our cellular regeneration rates are increasing exponentially. It's like our bodies are adapting to the weapon's attacks. Chen shared a look with Tanaka. Every human on board had undergone extensive genetic modification to survive deep space work, their already robust bodies enhanced to withstand extreme conditions. But this was something else entirely. The weapon, Miraval suddenly exclaimed, their crystalline form brightening with revelation. It's not just targeting crystalline structures. It's designed to eliminate any life form that isn't adaptable enough to survive its attacks. The ancient crystalline species it was built to stop must have been like us. Perfect, but rigid. Unchanging. And humans are about as far from unchanging as you can get, Rodriguez added. Our entire evolutionary history is one long story of adaptation to hostile conditions. Chen's eyes narrowed as a plan began to form. Dr. Hassan, what would happen if we deliberately exposed ourselves to more of the weapon's energy? Sir, based on these readings, Hassan paused, double-checking her data. Our enhanced healing factor would kick into overdrive. We might be able to survive levels that would destroy even our hardened equipment. That's insane, Tanaka protested. Even with our modifications, we're all going to die anyway if that thing reaches populated space. Chen cut her off. And our ships can't take much more of this. Sometimes the best shield is living flesh. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. All human personnel, this is the captain. I'm calling for volunteers for a high-risk operation. We're going to board that installation. The response was immediate. Every human crew member not essential to keeping the ships functioning volunteered. They were the children of Earth, evolved on a death world, and further enhanced by science. Where others saw impossible odds, they saw challenges to overcome. Commander Tanaka, you have the con, Chen announced, standing from his captain's chair. Director Miraval, we'll need your expertise to guide us once we're inside. Dr. Hassan, get your medical team ready. I have a feeling we're going to need you. Rodriguez, you're with me. As the human boarding team prepared for their mission, Miraval watched in fascination. Their species had always seen humanity's aggressive immune system, dense musculature, and constant drive to adapt as signs of a primitive, unrefined species. Now they understood. These weren't bugs in humanity's design. They were features. Evolution had crafted them into the perfect weapon against extinction. The boarding pods were loaded with volunteers in heavily modified environmental suits. Regular suits would have failed instantly in the energy field, but these were built with the same philosophy as everything else humans made. Layers of redundancy, multiple backup systems, and the assumption that everything that could go wrong would. Remember, Chen addressed his boarding team. We're not just fighting for the Xyrillian ships out there. If this weapon fully activates, it could spread across the sector, destroying any civilization it deems too rigid to survive. We're going to show it exactly how adaptable humanity can be. The pods launched into the Crimson Storm, carrying their cargo of Earth's finest toward the ancient installation. As Miraval watched them go, they finally understood why humans called their rescue ships hammers. When faced with a problem that seemed insurmountable, humanity's solution was often to hit it head-on with everything they had. And somehow, against all logic, it usually worked. It's a quarantine device, Miraval whispered, their crystalline form vibrating with realization. Ancient records speak of a time when crystalline-based life forms dominated this sector of the galaxy. They were reportedly hostile, expansionist, and someone built this to stop them. Chen finished. A weapon designed to target their specific biological structure. Your people must have evolved after it was already dormant. A violent surge rocked the ship, stronger than anything they'd encountered so far. In the medical bay, injured Xyrillians cried out as the energy field threatened to shatter their bodies. The human crew, products of a world with crushing gravity and constant tectonic activity, barely noticed the turbulence. We need to shut it down, Hassan declared, her modified muscles tensing as she steadied herself and her alien patients. The field is expanding. If it reaches any populated systems. Agreed, Chen said. But how do you turn off a weapon that's older than most civilizations? Miraval's compound eyes flickered with sudden inspiration. Perhaps we don't need to turn it off. The device targets crystalline structures by matching their resonant frequency. But your ships, your technology, they're built with multiple redundant materials, layers of different compositions. We can create interference, Rodriguez cut in, catching on quickly, like noise-canceling technology, but on a massive scale. If we reconfigure our shield harmonics to generate opposing frequencies, it could disrupt the weapon's targeting system, Tanaka added. But the power requirements would be enormous. Chen's expression hardened with determination. What if we linked power systems with the Xyrillian ships? Their quantum matrices are still partially functional, and they generate clean energy more efficiently than our fusion reactors. It's possible, Miraval agreed, their crystalline form brightening with excitement despite the danger. But the interface would have to be perfect. Any misalignment could destroy both fleets. Then we'll have to be perfect, Chen replied simply. Commander Tanaka, coordinate with the support vessels. Dr. Hassan, keep our guests stable. Rodriguez, begin shield modifications. Director Miraval, let's make history. What followed was a symphony of cooperation between two radically different species. Human strength and endurance allowed them to make modifications that would have been impossible for the more fragile Xyrillians, while Xyrillian scientific insight guided those modifications with unprecedented precision. The Thunderhammer shields began to pulse with a complex pattern of energy, each wave precisely calculated to counter the ancient weapon's output. The remaining Xyrillian ships, now partially powered up, added their own energy to the effort, their quantum matrices synchronized with the human vessel's more robust systems. As the combined fleet pushed deeper into the anomaly, the weapon's energy field began to fluctuate. The crimson storm surrounding them flickered, its pattern disrupted by the interference being generated by the Allied ships. At its heart, the ancient installation's power signature started to waver. It's working, Miraval announced, their voice filled with wonder. The weapon's targeting system is losing coherence. But they hesitated, their crystalline form dimming slightly. The power drain is causing our ship's structural integrity to fail faster than predicted. Chen studied the tactical display, his enhanced eyes taking in every detail. They were committed now. Retreat would mean leaving the weapon active, a threat to every crystalline-based species in the galaxy. But pressing forward might cost them everything. Just another day at the office for humanity's finest crisis response team. Evolution's children. The ancient weapons core pulsed with malevolent energy as the Thunderhammer and its makeshift fleet pushed deeper into the anomaly. Warning klaxons blared through every deck as the ship's systems strained against forces they were never designed to withstand. Hull stress at 93% of maximum tolerance, Rodriguez reported from engineering, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The Xerillian ships are holding together, but barely. Whatever we're going to do, Captain, we need to do it fast. In the science lab, Miraval's crystalline form shimmered with excitement as new data poured in. Captain, we're close enough to get detailed readings of the installation's core. It's remarkable. The technology is beyond anything we've ever encountered. Save the scientific appreciation for later, Chen replied, though there was a hint of amusement in his voice. What can you tell me about shutting it down? The science director's compound eyes flickered in their equivalent of a nod. Our initial scan suggested the energy field is being generated by some kind of ancient installation. The pattern indicates it's a constructed device, but its purpose. She paused, her crystalline form vibrating with scientific excitement despite their dire situation. Its purpose remains unclear. Ma'am, one of the human sensor operators interrupted. You might want to see this. We've been running the energy signature through our database, and we got a partial match. It's similar to old Earth defense systems designed to target specific materials. Chen's eyes narrowed. A weapon? Out here in the middle of nowhere. If it is a weapon, Rodriguez chimed in through the comm, it's not targeting us. Our hull composition is too diverse, too redundant. We evolved on a planet that constantly tried to kill us, Captain. Everything we build reflects that. A new alert blared through the ship as the anomaly's energy spiked again. The Thunderhammer's shields held firm, but the remaining Xerillian vessels groaned under the strain. Time was running out. Director, Chen said, turning to Miraval, your people have the scientific knowledge, and we have the hardware to survive whatever this thing throws at us. I suggest we put both to good use. The science director's crystalline form seemed to straighten despite the crushing gravity. What are you proposing, Captain? Chen's lips curled into a predatory smile. Your ships can't survive another direct hit, but ours can. We're going to take the Thunderhammer straight into that anomaly and shut it down from the inside. Your scientists can guide us, but our people will have to do the heavy lifting. Quite literally, in this case. Miraval's compound eyes widened. The energy levels within the anomaly would be lethal to any living being. Maybe to most species, Chen replied, his smile growing wider. But we humans have a saying, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And believe me, Director, it takes a lot to kill a human. As the rescue teams continued their work, and the engineering crews prepared for what might be their most dangerous mission yet, Miraval found herself reevaluating everything she thought she knew about the universe. Perhaps she realized, true strength wasn't in avoiding danger, but in being built to face it head-on. And perhaps these Deathworlders, with their redundant organs and reinforced bones, their over-engineered ships and their seemingly reckless courage, were exactly what the galaxy needed. Trial by fire. The Thunderhammer's bridge thrummed with tension as Captain Chen guided the massive rescue vessel toward the heart of the anomaly. The ship's reinforced viewport showed a maelstrom of crimson energy swirling before them, like a storm made of malevolent starlight. All hands, this is the captain. Chen's voice echoed through the ship's comm system. We're about to attempt something that goes against every safety protocol in the book. Anyone who wants to transfer to the support vessels, now's your time. The silence that followed spoke volumes. Not a single crew member requested transfer. In the ship's modified science lab, Science Director Miraval worked alongside Dr. Hassan and a team of human scientists, their crystalline forms supported by a specially designed gravity harness. The Xerillians' compound eyes tracked multiple data streams simultaneously as they processed the incoming sensor data. The energy signature is becoming more coherent, Miraval announced. It's not random destruction. There's a pattern emerging. The wavelength matches the resonant frequency of crystalline-based technology. Like your ships, Hassan noted, her augmented eyes picking up details in the data that would be invisible to unmodified human vision. And your bodies. Precisely. This device isn't just destructive, it's selective. But why target crystalline-based life forms specifically? The ship shuddered as it pushed deeper into the anomaly's field. Warning indicators flashed across every console, but the Thunderhammer's reinforced systems held firm. In engineering, Chief Rodriguez and her team worked frantically to maintain the ship's integrity. Diverting additional power to forward shields, Rodriguez reported through the comm. "Captain, whatever this thing is, it's trying to find our weak points. Good thing we don't have any." Commander Tanaka's hands flew across her tactical display. Energy levels are rising exponentially. We're picking up something at the center of the disturbance. Looks like some kind of structure. The viewport's adaptive filters adjusted, revealing a massive crystalline installation floating in the heart of the energy storm. Its architecture was alien, predating any known civilization, but its purpose was becoming clearer with each passing moment. A new understanding. The ancient installation's corridors pulsed with waves of crimson energy as Captain Chen led his boarding team deeper into its heart. Their modified environmental suits were already showing signs of damage, but the humans inside them were adapting faster than their equipment could fail. Dr. Hassan's medical telemetry showed their enhanced cellular regeneration working overtime, their bodies literally evolving in real time to resist the weapon's effects. Multiple pathways ahead, Rodriguez reported, her engineering sensors struggling to make sense of the alien architecture. The energy readings are strongest from the central chamber, but the radiation levels there are off the charts. "That's where we're going," Chen replied, his voice steady despite the pain of his body's rapid adaptation. "Director Miraval, what are you seeing through our feeds?" The science director's voice came through their comms, transmitted from the relative safety of the Thunderhammer. "The installation's design is remarkable. It appears to be semi-organic, almost like a coral reef made of crystal and quantum circuitry. The beings who built this, they must have been masters of both biological and technological engineering." A violent surge of energy rippled through the structure, nearly knocking the boarding team off their feet. Through their suit cameras, they could see the corridor walls shifting, rearranging themselves like a living thing. "The weapon isn't just attacking us," Hassan observed, checking her medical readings. "It's testing us. Each wave is slightly different, targeting new potential vulnerabilities. If we weren't constantly adapting." "Like I said on Earth," Rodriguez grunted, helping a fellow crew member whose suit was starting to crack. "Always assume everything is trying to kill you. Usually saves time." They reached the central chamber, a vast spherical space dominated by a crystalline structure that could only be the weapon's core. It pulsed with energy that made their enhanced vision blur, their modified nervous systems screaming warnings their ancestors could never have imagined. "Director," Chen called out, fighting through the pain, "we're at the core. Talk to us." Miraval's voice was filled with both awe and concern. "The quantum signatures are incredible. This device wasn't just meant to destroy. It was meant to ensure that only the most adaptable life forms could survive in this sector of space. A cosmic filter, testing species' ability to overcome impossible challenges." Well, Chen managed a grim smile behind his deteriorating faceplate. Humanity's got plenty of experience with those. Back on the Thunderhammer's bridge, Commander Tanaka watched as the weapon's energy field continued to expand. The Xerillian ships had been fully evacuated, their crystalline crews safely aboard the human vessels, but their empty hulls served as a stark reminder of what was at stake. "The field will reach the nearest populated system in less than 6 hours," she reported. "We're out of time." Inside the installation, Chen and his team had reached the core's main control interface. Rodriguez worked quickly, her fingers dancing across alien controls as she interfaced their technology with the ancient systems. The weapon's energy was so intense now that their suits were barely functioning, kept operational only by constant repairs and the superhuman endurance of their wearers. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, "I think I found something. The core isn't just generating energy, it's consuming it. It's like a quantum furnace, burning through reality itself to power its tests. If we could overload it, the resulting explosion would be catastrophic." Miraval cut in. "Even your enhanced bodies couldn't survive it." Chen looked at his team, seeing the same determination in their eyes that had driven humanity from their death world to the stars. "What if we didn't try to survive it? What if we used our ship's quantum matrices to channel the explosion into subspace?" There was a moment of silence as both humans and Xerillians processed the implications. It was exactly the kind of solution that marked humanity's approach to problems. Unexpected, seemingly reckless, but based on a deep understanding of their own capabilities. It could work, Miraval admitted, but the timing would have to be perfect. Too early, and the explosion wouldn't be contained. Too late. "Then we better not be late," Chen replied. "Commander Tanaka, begin evacuation of all non-essential personnel to the support vessels. Dr. Hassan, get your patients to safety. Rodriguez, start the overload sequence. Director Miraval, it's been an honor." What followed would be remembered in galactic history as the Carina Gambit. The Thunderhammer, guided by its remaining human crew, moved into position directly above the ancient installation. As Chen and his boarding team triggered the weapon's overload, the ship's quantum matrices, reverse-engineered from a dozen different alien technologies and rebuilt with humanity's characteristic redundancy, began to pulse in a complex pattern. The weapon's core went critical, releasing enough energy to vaporize a small moon. But instead of expanding outward, the blast was caught in the Thunderhammer's quantum web, channeled through layers of subspace that humans had learned to navigate through centuries of desperate innovation. When the light faded and the dust settled, the ancient weapon was gone. The Thunderhammer, badly damaged but still intact, drifted in the void, its hull scared but unbroken. Inside, the human crew was already beginning to recover, their enhanced bodies adapting to heal damage that would have killed most species outright. In the days that followed, as the galactic community processed what had happened, the perception of humanity began to shift. What had once been seen as evolutionary shortcuts, their aggressive immune systems, their dense muscle structure, their seemingly paranoid approach to engineering, were now recognized as vital adaptations that could save countless lives. The Xerillian consensus formally requested human assistance in redesigning their ships, incorporating redundancies and backup systems that their perfect, crystalline technology had never needed before. Other species began to study human biology, amazed by their ability to not just survive, but thrive in conditions that should have been lethal. But perhaps most importantly, the galaxy began to understand that true strength wasn't in achieving perfection. It was in never stopping to adapt, to change, to overcome. Humanity's greatest gift to the stars wasn't their technology or their physical capabilities, but their unshakable belief that anything could be survived if you were willing to evolve to survive it. As the Thunderhammer limped home for repairs, Captain Chen sat in his partially reconstructed bridge, watching his crew work with their usual efficiency despite their recent ordeal. A message from the Xerillian High Council flashed across his screen, a formal commendation and a request for increased cooperation between their species. "You know," he mused to Commander Tanaka, "maybe being from a death world isn't such a bad thing after all." Tanaka smiled, already making notes for improvements to their ships based on what they'd learned. "It's not about where you're from, sir. It's about what you do to overcome it." In the medical bay, Dr. Hassan was already documenting the changes in human physiology caused by their exposure to the weapon, knowing that these adaptations would be passed on to future generations. Humanity had faced another impossible challenge and emerged stronger for it. Just another day in the life of Earth's children, the survivors who refused to stop surviving.